Welcome back to Count Me In. I'm your host, Adam Larson, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, Aaron Levine, the CFO of Prophix. Aaron brings a rich career experience across various industries within the software space, including roles leading financial strategies in education, nonprofit, and restaurant tech sector. In this episode, Aaron shares his journey and insights into the evolving role of the CFO. We'll explore the importance of building trust, tackling data governance challenges, and the transformative impact of AI on finance. Aaron will also provide valuable advice on team building, effective communication, and balancing risk and innovation with a fast paced environment. This conversation offers a wealth of knowledge on optimizing finance functions and preparing for the future of financial leadership. So sit back and join us for an engaging discussion. Let's dive in. Well, Aaron, I'm really excited to have you on Count Me In, and we're going to be talking a lot about the evolving role of the CFO. And who work as the CFO at Prophix, a company that, gears toward the CFO, maybe we can start by talking a little bit about what your journey to becoming the CFO at Prophix. I know it wasn't your first time.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk to you. Yeah, my career has been, pretty traditional finance and accounting career. I started my career really on the accounting side. I was the controller of two public software companies in controller roles. One of them was a company called Blackboard. Blackboard is a learning management system for higher ed. Many people know of Blackboard or have used Blackboard in college. So I was the controller of Blackboard for many years. And then I pivoted my career to more the finance side. I was the VP of finance at another public software company called Vocus. Vocus is in the PR and marketing automation space. But I've kind of done both sides in finance and accounting. I always tell people, I've posted journal entries. I've done, account reconciliations. I have done, budgets and forecasting. I feel like I've kind of done it all inside the office of the CFO. And those experiences have led me now to 5 CFO roles of really venture and PE-backed software businesses. I've been in software my whole career, but I've been in different industries inside of software. So I've been in education. I've been at a nonprofit company that sells into the nonprofit space. I've been at a restaurant tech company. I've been in cybersecurity. Now, obviously, I'm selling inside of the office of the CFO. So I've been at many different, industries. I've also been at companies with different go-to-market motions. So I mentioned Vocus. Vocus was a SMB sale. So it was a transactional sort of high velocity go-to-market motion. I've also been in businesses that sell big, enterprise 7-figure deals. So kind of done the spectrum in terms of go-to-market motion as well. But yeah, happy to be at Prophix now. It's pretty fun, being at a business like this, which obviously I'm very comfortable with.
Yeah. And so you've got a lot of experience in software, but with all the different industries, would you say that throughout your different times, has your role as CFO changed, or are you doing the same thing just in a different industry?
I always say software is software, right? It's same movie, different actors. That's what I always say. So it's, whether it's nonprofit or ed tech or, I was at a customer success business, right? So it's really, a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same challenges, for companies of that size and scale.
So what are some of those big challenges that you are facing today as a leader, especially in the software space? Like, what are some of those big challenges? Because, there's tons of, special words or keywords or hot topics that I could throw at you, and I'm sure you could talk about those things. But what are some of those biggest challenges that, you see as a CFO today?
Yeah. I think we're at an interesting time just as a human race, sort of in terms of where we are. Today's political climate obviously is supercharged and all the social media stuff. And so I think generally, not just for CFOs, but for leaders in general of businesses as well, I think there's a general sort of lack of trust in the environment. So I think leaders today, really forming, the level of trust, right, with your peers, with your customers, with the board, is very, very important. And trust is built obviously in different ways. I think as a CFO, trust is really built by, being open and honest with the board, the C-suite, right? Our role is to sort of, bring it all together and kind of read out the results. And I think, the way we do that is important. There's certainly an art to it, right? I mean, news is not always good news. You obviously want to highlight, the positives, but I think, putting a spotlight on some of the negatives or some of the challenges of the business is super important as well. So, I think building trust is kind of a key leadership challenge today. But look, we're all just, like I said, we're all just humans, and I think these business relationships are, similar to other, personal relationships that you have, right? Everyone's got relationships with friends and family, and there's a certain human aspect of it. And I think sort of, digging into that human aspect is really important as a CFO.
So as you're looking to build the right team around you as a CFO, you talk about building trust, and a lot of times when you're hiring new people, you have to kind of establish that trust quickly. How do you find those right people, especially when there's a gap in getting people into the accounting teams today?
There absolutely is. I think it widens, right? I feel like hiring today is harder than it was, 20 years ago when I started. So I think, look, there's tons of research and discussion about why that's hard, right? I mean, I think accounting in particular is not seen as a, cool kind of sexy role, but as you are trying to hire and recruit people and sort of bring people into the industry, I mean, I think it's really important to move away from that narrative, right? I mean, finance and accounting is cool. It can be sexy, right? I think the role has obviously, the role has evolved, right? We're no longer reporters of data. And now our role is much broader, right? Finance, particularly CFO, other than the CEO, right? We have a unique view on the business, right? We kind of see all the pieces, bring it together. And it's our role to sort of analyze and report out on it. And it's more than that, and more than just analyzing and reporting out. Our role is really to drive the business forward. So it's like, hey, we see something, and then we work with the business to action it, right? And sort of, whether that be, changing a process or, dealing directly with product issues, my role in particular, right? I have a unique perspective on the product, right? So I think that the finance role is much broader. And, when you're hiring people, articulating that role is really important. But look, I mean, hiring finance people is like hiring, other folks, right? I think today people look for flexible work, arrangements, I think, which is very important. Here at Prophix, we spend a lot of time, highlighting our commitment to diversity and innovation. The role in the industry has changed so much and continues to evolve, really fostering a environment of continuous learning and personal growth is super important. So, I think these are all just other sort of, benefits that are important to articulate to candidates. But more than that, like I said, it's just really painting the picture of what this role can be and should be and will be for candidates.
I can imagine how difficult it must be, especially in something as fast paced as like a SaaS type market where, there's constantly things you have to stay on top of the technology. Do you ever see like that potential candidates are nervous to come to a technology company like that?
Yeah, I do. I think so. Right. I mean, so, people have different, risk, tolerance levels, right? I think so. Technology companies can be seen as more, risky than others. And some of them certainly are. But look, my career, like I said, has been mainly in public companies and more private equity backed businesses. And while those businesses, can certainly, have challenges, I think, pretty stable businesses. But, for people who value, stability, I think, venture backed and smaller software and technology companies may not be, the place for them, but others thrive in that environment. So, you got to find the fit for people, right? We're we all have different preferences for sure.
Yeah, every candidate who comes isn't necessarily going to be the best person for you, and you as the leader have to kind of sort through the things like that. That's part of the role as being a CFO. You have to look at resumes.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So when looking at the whole, you call it the office of the CFO, and I don't hear it called that very often, but I like that term, the office of the CFO. What are some of the biggest challenges in the environment today for CFOs?
I think the biggest challenge, the number one challenge, really is data
Mm,
governance. Today there's data all over the place. Tech stacks have evolved just so much over the last decade, right? There's tons of tools on the sales and marketing side, accounting and finance. We have our own tools, right? We have ERPs, there's
mm-hmm,
CRM. So there's just data everywhere. Product, services, they all have their own tools. So um, the biggest, I think, really the number one biggest challenge is sort of getting a handle on all of this data and then bringing it together, preferably in one platform, and really bring it together in a single source of truth. Right? I think we've all been in meetings where um, you know sales comes with their own PDF with their numbers on it, and then finance has their numbers, and you spend half the meeting arguing about whose numbers are right, and trying to reconcile those numbers. So that really is the biggest challenge, I think, today for CFOs. um, and look, I think also finance and accounting is back office, right? We're G&A, so we are also resource constrained, right? I think today's environment, EBITDA is much more in focus for businesses, and cash flow. So we are resource constrained. So um, that ties back into the data consolidation and the importance, right? Because the better job we do sort of getting our hands around the data and getting it in a central repository with a single source of truth and a central set of numbers, right? The more efficient we are. And when we think about tools, automation is also key, right? I think you need a tool that will help centralize data and
mm-hmm.
automate processes, right? To find efficiency. So those are a couple of really the biggest challenges today.
Yeah, and I can see how it permeates just beyond, for all companies because all organizations are struggling with this. And I've seen different articles where people think that IT should be within the finance function, it should be under the CFO. What are your thoughts on that type of thought? Because I've seen it work both ways, and I don't know, what the better thing is. I think the CFO and the IT director need to be connected very closely, but should they report to each other? How does that work? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think regardless of the actual lines on an org chart, I think it's really important that they're connected very closely. I've managed IT before.
Hmm.
Personally, I'm not an IT, right? I'm a finance guy, right? So when you start digging down into IT, I personally think product and R&D is a better place for that to sit, just because I think they have a little more hands-on knowledge of some of the issues they face. But
Yeah.
um, like I said, regardless of where it sits, I think really having that relationship and just being sort of tied at the hip is really important. And again, that's where trust, right? The trust has to come in, and you have to work together to
Hmm.
bring data together. It's just key. And it's really the biggest. Honestly, it's really a lot of my time today is spent on just doing that, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's working with these different teams and um, sort of bringing the picture together, bringing the data together, and then reporting back to them. And you do that enough, and you build enough trust, and they become they rely on the finance and accounting organization, and everybody's sort of marching from the same song sheet.
Yeah. So we can't have this conversation without talking about AI in some way because it's changing how we all look at our jobs, how we all look at our work. When you think about AI, how is it changing your perspective as a CFO?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm a big proponent of AI. I think it's here to stay. I think
Hmm.
it's a tool, right? Just like Excel is a tool, I think AI will be a tool that we all use. And it's just amazing how this discussion accelerated, right, over the last 12 months, right? It's just incredible. When I think about technology, I think back. I started my career in public accounting, and late '90s, in public accounting, we still um, we had audit paper, like we had physical like audit workbooks and paper. We used
Yeah.
to have these big columns, and when we get too long on the paper, we would actually fold the paper over, and you tape it together, and you put it in the binder. Like, it's just amazing to think, how this discussion has evolved so rapidly. So, look, like I said, AI is here to stay. I think we're in the early innings of AI. I think there are some use cases that are obvious, sort of inside of finance and accounting. Things like chatbots are becoming much more impactful. In terms of account reconciliation, that's a great use case, right? I think auto matching is kind of has been around, but I think that's getting better, and I think a lot of account recs will rely on AI. Here at Prophix, we have a feature called Report Insights within our product. And what it does is it does the line item narration, right? So it'll kind of draft variance explanations, right? So you have budget, actual. It'll kind of take the first stab at writing out, the explanation for the variance, and it's pretty good. It's not, it's not perfect, right? But I think it gets you on third base, right? It gets you there. And I think, it's the team's job to sort of beef it up and put the human touches on it. But, a lot of the things, like just the calculations in a variance explanation, right? A variance explanation usually starts with, R&D is up, X million dollars and Y% over the prior year, right? So I think just, saving someone the time from, getting their calculator out and, calculating that percentage and putting it in the variance explanation, it just saves time. So again, as we're resource constrained, I think AI becomes much more important. And really, what it's going to do is it's going to free up resources to do the fun stuff. So
Yeah.
like I said, maybe some of this new functionality gets us to second or third base, and it's the team's job, and it'll be that human touch which really kind of brings it home, right? And usually the first getting to 50-yard line is the harder part, right? Scoring the touchdown in that example is the fun part. So I think broadly speaking, I think finance and accounting folks are sort of they're smart people, right? We are very analytical in our thinking, and using that skill set and those resources to sort of drive business outcomes and analyze versus reconciling and putting data together is really what the role is gonna evolve into even more.
So those calculations that you're talking about, a lot of those things are traditionally handled by your entry level people. If those calculations are going to be handled by AI, particularly AI going forward, are we imagining like new entry level type positions for accountants going forward?
It's a great question. Look, I think entry level people, a lot of these people are, it's first, second job, out of school. And I do think it's really important to have that foundation, right? Like, understand, where these numbers are coming from, understand, sort of how it comes together. Understand, how to do an account rec, on their own. So I think that is a piece that will be important for managers and leaders to sort of reinforce the foundations, right? That's just kind of foundational, finance and accounting stuff. But look, I mean, these are bright young people coming out of school, and I think it's exciting for them to be spending their time, like I said, involved in the business, involved with the different functional areas of the business, right? You can have someone focused on, a certain project inside of, the go-to-market function, right? And supporting that project from a finance perspective. So I think it just sort of, elevates us, us all, and elevates the role. But but I do agree. I think there's there's a risk there that some kind of fundamental key skills will be won't be developed as well as they had in the past.
Well, and it's also goes back to, where people are getting their original education. Are our colleges teaching them those foundational things, and then when they go to their first job, maybe they're not applying it the same way that their predecessors did, but maybe they're analyzing it in a new way, and they're able to advance themselves faster because they're learning things on the job as opposed to just kind of inputting numbers quickly.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And look, I think the college curriculum has changed,
Hmm.
drastically. Kids today come in with, far better, you know, tech skills than I have. I see kids whipping around, in Excel really, really, well, and they know the formulas, and
Hmm.
they know a lot of the advanced functions. So, um, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting too, because as this next generation is coming up, if I was in college when these ChatGPT things are out, I mean, I think I would have been a lot lazier because I'm like, oh, I can get help. Let's get me started, and I can rewrite it, And so I think they're going to have to find creative ways to be more creative as opposed to letting the AI start for them. Because a lot of it, we started with a blank page, but in today's world, you don't necessarily have to start with a blank page with the tools that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, I think these are not just a finance and accounting issue, but just sort of issues this generation coming up in the workforce.
Hmm. So if you were to stand in front of a host of like 300 CFOs from around the world, what would be the advice you'd give them and saying, "Hey guys, this is the things you need to have to be the best CEO you can today." It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, look, you obviously talked a lot about technology. We
Hmm.
talked a lot about data and being comfortable with data, and so I think obviously that is a key to becoming an effective CFO today. I also talked about communication. I think that is increasingly important for CFOs and
Hmm.
their role, and especially with how the role has evolved. Um, Look, I think business is tough, right? Business, everyone thinks they're a genius and can solve it all, but really a lot of things in business are out of your control, right? So
Yeah.
I think one thing that is in your control, and this is what I always tell folks, one thing that is in your control is speed, and the speed in which you work, and the speed in which you make decisions. So um, bad news does not get better over time, right? It's not like a fine wine, right? I think um, you know having data at your fingertips, being able to decision and action quickly is imperative today, and I think it's really a competitive advantage for a business, and it's really critical for CFOs to sort of drive that mindset and that style. So
Hmm.
you make keep the ball moving, and make decisions with the best information you have, and you kind of correct as needed over time. But speed is critical today.
Yeah. Speed is critical, but you have to do speed in the timing that works best for you because you can't go too fast where you overlook something, right? So you have to find the speed that works best for your organization.
That's right. That's right. And different organizations again have different kind of cultures and risk
Hmm.
tolerances. Um, but broadly speaking, I do think moving with urgency,
Hmm.
speed, with the best data you have, at a given time is really, like I said, a competitive advantage. So
Definitely. Do you find it different working for an organization that is a company that has a software that's catered toward people in your position? Is that a weird thing? What's it like working for that type of an organization?
yeah, 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 it's really cool. Personally, it's really cool for me. Um, I tell folks at Prophix, right? I am our ICP. I am our ideal
Yeah.
customer profile, right? I've like I said, I've kind of done it on the accounting side, done it on the finance side. So yeah, for me, it's been great. I spend a lot of time with our product team,
Hmm.
thinking about features or sort of ways we can make the product more usable for the end user.
Yeah.
Um, and we're always the guinea pig as well, right? The finance team and the accounting team, we're always the guinea pig as we roll new features and functionality out. So it's a really cool role. On the go-to-market side as well, I find myself, doing things like this. I find myself talking to a lot of customers and talking through, my experiences and how we use the product and giving, tips and tricks on Prophix and it's a really cool role for me.
Well, and being at the front end of a technology company who's utilizing it for your function, your team must have to be very agile to say, hey, we're going to try out this new feature this week. It might not work, but let's give it a shot.
Yeah. We try to be. I mean, we're like everyone else. We are also, have a lot of work to do and our resource, constrained. So we do our best to be the guinea pigs, like I said. But look, I'm really, excited about where we are as a business. We're rolling out a lot of cool stuff. As an example, we just rolled out, I talked about account recs. We rolled out an account reconciliation module. We have used it as a team. I love it personally. I'm a big proponent of it. I think most, mid-market and, upper mid-market and lower enterprise businesses are probably still doing account recs manually, in Excel, right? So I think, additional, products like that we roll out and offer to the customer base is a win for everybody, right? And having it all in the same platform, right? So we've got one platform where you can do your account close, your account rec, your budgeting and forecasting, and then all the way through to your reporting, right? It's just so powerful as a CFO. So.
Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your expertise, and I love your passion about being a CFO and what you're able to do with Everald technology today. And I just thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Adam. A lot of fun. Thanks.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.